Welcome back, everyone, for another exciting rehearsal this week with a wrap-up of DCI 2023. Woohoo! We will find out what made Thom say,
I said it back when we started this. Watch out for this drum line. They are going to tear the roof down.
and why Cynthia said,
that flag tag needs to be recognized with some sort of trophy. Like, congrats. So if anyone knows that person.
all this and more. So get out on the field, and we will see you back on the sidelines for this week's episode of On a Water Break.
Let's go. Set it up.
Top of the show.
Form, check form. Cover down.
Do it again.
Run it back. And we'll see you at the show.
Welcome to another episode of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Jackie Brown. DCI literally just wrapped up, and we have our hosts and guests ready to talk about it. So many exciting things happen at championships, and we all knew that this was going to be one for the history books. So let's see who's on the sidelines this week. Thom!
Hello. It's not so sunny today, so I can't be all.
I sent it to you. We had this rain for the last week or so you can have some of it now.
We have had mysterious rain the last couple days. It's been a little bizarre here.
Nicole.
What is going on? I am so excited to talk about this. The whole entire time I was posted up in front of my TV with my comfy blanket. I am so ready.
The best way to watch, honestly. Unless, of course, you're there. But still, I love being able to watch DCI from home. Ashlee?
Yeah.
Hi, it's been so long since I've been on. I'm so excited to be back.
I know, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
Bandcamp. And it's not over yet.
It does it to us. Oh my gosh. Cynthia?
Hi guys. Happy to be back.
And Jeremy, I feel like we were just talking yesterday.
It definitely feels like I was just here the other day, but after being at Lucas Oil for 2 days, I'm so excited to talk about these shows.
Yay! Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, since she did such a fantastic job the last time she was on, our guest host this week is Alicia Sharp. We learned about her last week, and like I said, she was just so amazing. So we had to bring her back for this episode. Hi, Alicia!
Hi, I'm super excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Now, normally, this is where we do our gush and goes, but I thought maybe we save that for the end after we talk about each of the 12 drum corps who made world-class finals this year. So let's get started. We're going to go in reverse order of their finals placements. Up first is the Blue Knights with their show Unharnessed.
Yeah, right? Real quick, and we're going to do another show, I know we are, and talk about everyone else. But my alumni, where I started, the Spartans, whoop, whoop, Oakland Cast champions. All right. Anyway, the Blue Knights. It's a controversial show, right? For me, though, I saw that bass drum thing back at the beginning of the season, and I was in my own head are they going to abandon this? Is this something they're just going to be like, let's just turn it into something else? We're beating a dead horse. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they just kept pursuing it and trying it. And the final product last night, it was a really cool moment with the pressurized bass drums. I thought it finally paid off.
I just spent the season trying to figure out what was happening. I saw pretty early on that they switched to completely different bass drums for that feature. But then, even yesterday, some band directors and we were all kind of hypothesizing, trying to figure out why the switch and what was happening there. Can you explain?
Right, I wish they did a better job
so
videotaping that, but it had a pressure cooker, and it had a breathing tube on it, and you would exhale from the drum, and it would change the pitches. You'd blow air into the drum, and it would make the heads tighter, so it would create a higher pitch. On paper, probably seemed really easy, but as it went on, they probably realized, oh wow, this is But congrats to them for keeping at it.
Wow, that's cool. I've never seen anything like that before.
No, I don't think we'll see it again either.
And it was a
Well, I'm sure that like temperature and like being indoor performing versus outdoor performing and all of those things like have an effect on that too, wouldn't it?
That would totally be something you would see more indoors, I think. You might see some high school lines pursuing this here.
But one thing that is probably interesting is that Blue Knights has always done their thing, a little bit outside of the box. Not caring about, I shouldn't say not caring because they've always been competitive, but, doing their thing, and then they've landed always like 8th and 7th. And so for them to still do something that no one else does with fighting for making finals, because that was, I don't think it was the only goal, but of course it was something that they wanted to bring back to their legacy, right? I think just that, not without really knowing anything about drums, is interesting on its own, right?
And what a fight. Like, I think it's worth mentioning that it was an all-out bloodbath to even get into finals this year. Like, that last spot was, what was it, down to like an 1/8 of a point?
Yeah, it could have been any three cores right there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, it's so, like, honorable mention to those cores that were right outside of that cutoff, but, awesome for Blue Knights that they were able to squeak in and get to do that performance.
And I know the competition was really, really fair, and they were nice between each other, because there's 2 girls from Quebec, the only ones that did world class this year, and there were videos of them just finding out that they made finals and crying and all that, but then the first thing they did was congratulate the Crossmen and saying it was a fair fight, and how the 2 cores saw each other and they fought, and there was a great camaraderie, even though I'm pretty sure, of course, the Crossman kids were sad, but I mean, yeah, you're right.
All right, we got to go to my alma mater, the Blue Stars.
Right. So Blue Stars, they did in absentia, and I have notes for each one, but I'm just going to say it was, for the Blue Stars, this was different, but oh so them, okay? Because we all are, they actually kind of brought it back or did a throwback in the way that they do shows, in the whole like changing of the uniforms.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen that from them in a while. However, it was different in the fact that just what the uniforms were. I mean, I guess you could say the differences in like how the uniforms were all individual to each kid or each performer. And I felt like the music with the show and the changing of the uniforms, that definitely got it. There was this one part in the middle of the show where the percussionists all came out and they were all doing, they were all in the middle of the field on cymbals, playing on the hi-hat. Tom, is
that was a good moment for them. The hi-hat moment. Yeah, really cool. And all the green, that worked well for them.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So very Blue Stars, and very honestly kind of is it relevant or relevant to right now? But, and also too, I follow it because absinthe is usually like green. The sugar cubes, those white
oh my God, I'm having the biggest haha moment. I was like, what are those spoons? There it is. Yeah. But can we just talk about like those words put into Latin, so it just makes everything a little bit deeper? Like, I'm like, can you just say,
It took me, I watched this show. I watched prelims, I watched semis, and I watched finals. And they have this performer at the very beginning that just comes out and it has no equipment. but it's like boom right there, and it's just like I am locked on you the whole entire time. And they had a great show, prelims, semis, and finals. Like, talk about mailman delivering.
A month ago,
that
they only
performer
had 2
delivered.
quads, right? They had 2 tenor drummers. They lost 2.
They only had
So that's pretty amazing.
Wow.
They had 4 last night.
one. Jeez. Well, I could never tell that. You know what I mean? It was without.
Yeah, and it wasn't the
So-
same 2 they lost. They had to pick
Yeah.
up 2 new people. So 2 people learned a show in a month.
Oh wow! So it's not just like they were sick and sat out. It was like they actually like lost 2 and had to
Yeah,
pick up
one
2.
with a broken foot and the other with a broken hand, I believe.
Oh, that is the worst.
Mhm.
Well, to honestly pick up like 2 months, pick up on the season, and then get into finals.
Yeah.
That's some quick learning and like good perform. Like those are great performers to do that. But to follow the show, I will tell you, it was a slow burn for me at first because I would watch it and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And then I would say by the time the hi-hat part happened or was happening to the end, that's when it started to pick up.
That's where
for
I
me.
get interest as well.
Yeah, of course you would.
You know,
you would.
you're right though. The first half of the show is watching a slow movie, and you're waiting for the action to happen. So,
Right. And it took me a little bit to get that, but at the same time, like when I went back and watched it the second time in semis, I was like, oh, okay, I get those are spoons. Okay, the only thing that I could not put together with the show were those black tubes that were on the field.
Thank you. What,
Okay.
and you know what they are? What was it for?
was it a straw?
Somebody said something about straws.
That's what my guess was.
Straws. Oh my god.
Do you drink absinthe through a straw? I mean, I don't know. This isn't like an
Absinthe
activity
is
that I
hard. If
partake
you drink
of
it through
regularly.
a straw.
I don't either. It used to be
boy.
illegal.
So, I mean, everything made sense to me, and I was just like, okay, but the way that they use those tubes too were very. I liked the way they used
Oh,
them.
it's creative.
Yeah, all those like the guard tosses with like the walkovers over them. That was really cool.
Yes, and really good each time too. Like prelims, semi, and finals. I was like, yes, thank you. They've got a lot of postmen in that color guard.
Dude, I think it's worth giving a shout out to the girl that she had a saber release and she slid down the spoon to catch. She had a dropless season. Every single performer she nailed, or every single performance they had this summer, she nailed that. And every single time I was so anxious and so nervous.
Watching it.
Yeah.
So, and honestly too, the last thing I want to bring up on this, because like I sometimes, you know how you have your own biases on things,
Always.
but like when you see green on a green field, I don't know whether to think that is this dangerous or is it genius. And I will tell you that this time, for the first time, and I think because the uniform went to an ombre black at the bottom, I think it was kind of genius because this time it didn't bother me that it was green on
Yeah, I
green.
thought it worked cool
Because they had like green and then lime green, and so, you know, and not to mention like the color guard like morphed into double its size by the end of the show.
Yeah, and you know what?
Because I was like, where do all these guys
I think if they didn't have those white sugar cubes to help frame in the green, they would have just been lost in the background. But yeah, it worked well in the end.
Yeah.
On the Blue Star social media also, I've been seeing them post like crazy that they are selling those spoons. So any schools out there who want to do a spoon related show, you can buy those. I just have to throw that out there.
Right?
If anybody's gonna do like Mary Poppins spoonful of
There
sugar,
you go. Mary Poppins, Alice in Wonderland. I feel like that would be perfect because you like, doesn't she shrink down tiny at one point and she has to like eat the cake or whatever? Yeah, there's like the giant tea set. There's just so many ways you could go with that. I feel like that's such a creative prop. If I could just afford to buy one and just like put it in my yard,
Right.
it would be. I would just
Be part of a
I'm just saying.
playground.
Yes,
The
yes,
spoon
oh my
playground.
God. Spoon playground.
We'll be coming up on something that I want to buy, a prop that I want to buy, but not right now.
All right, let's talk about Troopers. To Lasso the Sun. Oh
Troopaloop.
man.
You know, Troopers are always a core. Every single year they put out a show that I love, which is kind of funny because almost every single year they talked about this at the theater for prelims. Almost every year they do a Wild West show.
Yeah.
And you'd think, at this point it'd get boring. They've been in DCI since 72. You'd think it'd get boring at this point, but every single year they bring some kind of a twist, something that changes the concept, and it draws everyone in. Fan favorite almost every year.
Right, yeah, there's not many cores, and a lot of them aren't around anymore that could do that. Pioneer got stuck in the Irish theme, and they finally went under. Even the Spartans realized, look, we can't be Roman, soldiers forever. We got to evolve here. But the Troop, man, they put that hat on, and for some reason, they could play How the West Was Won every year, and the people love it.
Right. This was also the set, as far as we've gotten to talk about, like, they brought in ropes to lasso the sun. They had like ropes within their color guard as a prop. I think had it as well.
They had the ropes for Lasso the Sun, and then they had a literal prop sun that was just massive, and it spun,
Yes.
and it was so cool.
Yeah.
That prop, first of all, that's the prop I want to buy. I know it's going to be expensive, but also I picture something like that at like Burning Man. As soon as I saw it, I thought
For
Burning
sure.
Man. And I was like, okay, great, this is awesome, and it just kept going the whole entire time. I'm sure that was a pretty penny to make, but also, yeah, and what a way to draw your eye to where it needs to go.
I feel like I've been obsessing over this prop for like multiple episodes now, but it literally was the torch, the Olympic torch, like the frame for it in 2016 was basically the same idea, and we, like I said, we've talked about it all season, and I keep like coming back to it, and like that's what it reminds me of so much, and I love it so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, and hey, our friend who got stuck up there, we talked to him.
No
was
one
it
got
2 weeks
stuck,
ago now?
right?
It's been a little while. Yeah, he got stuck.
Nobody got stuck for
But he made it off. He's okay.
Yeah, they had a great percussion
I have
program
a question
this year.
for music people.
I'm not a color guard person, but I think they've had stronger years color guard wise, perhaps.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they weren't bad, but it was just
No, not at all.
A little lackluster.
For me, there was maybe a little lack of color, and I get it, but
yeah,
well, yeah, you're.
That was just for me.
So more a design perspective than like a performing perspective.
I agree with that. It was a very dark year for them overall. Like their aesthetic was very dark, and there was no time until the very end when they had those kind of ombre effect of all the flags. They were all solid, but we had the like yellow out. That was the only time we got like a pop of color on the field from them that broke that aesthetic. And it was always refreshing, but at that point in the show I was like, it's about time. It would have been nice to have more color a little early on.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did see how they went with all gold as far as their brass is concerned. So that to their color scheme a lot too. Like I definitely picked up on that. But I did feel like it was, I don't know, the color guard didn't stand out from what was happening in the show. I think it was very much the harmonica player. Did he really play that harmonica?
That was my other question. You're so right, Nicole. I was having I watched this. I'm sorry, Jeremy, but I watched this the DCI with my parents with old school. My dad just got to the train of like, they don't have uniforms, drum corps uniforms. It was hilarious. I was like, just get on here. It's been a while. But my mom was having a fight with me. Like every soloist is like, they're not playing for real. Like they seem so composed, and they like even like screamers, like they don't look like they're having a hard time, but I was like, no, they're just good. But yeah, someone said at the end that he was playing live, and then my question is music judges are supposed to be able to know every instrument to be able to judge a harmonica solo. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But here's the
It's sort of a whole
bit of a controversy with the harmonica.
it's sort of a whole can of worms. It's absolutely a controversy. A harmonica is a woodwind instrument, 100% no questions asked. It's used as a reed, X, Y, or Z. They didn't mic it. They took a guitar pickup and picked up the vibrations from the harmonica and then played the sounds on the synth.
Ata, say that again. Say that again.
So instead of miking it like a typical sound acoustic mic, they took a guitar pickup, which, like an electric guitar, how when you play, it's not actually sending the sound, it's sending the vibrations.
Why?
They did that with the harmonica. So technically, they were using a computer. Technically, it wasn't a woodwind. But it's a whole box of worms moving forward.
Yeah.
But see, I guess it's just the thing, because then it's when you have singers that are, like there was Bjork in other shows that we're going to talk about, but Bjork was sampled, right? Or at least it sounded like her or recorded of her, and I'm pretty sure there's one singer that can sing like to my love, like some like that's good. I see, that's interesting.
So that is genius. Like Alicia said, like, wow, I just would have thought the mic was somewhere on the performer.
Yeah.
I didn't know all of that was actually happening.
I'm glad they were.
Yeah, and honestly, the only reason I found out about that is they talked about it in the theaters on prelims between shows, how they were able to use a woodwind instrument on a brass and percussion field.
Yeah, this was something they got slapped with back in like May by DCI. They were told, you have a reed instrument. So this is genius that they were able to figure it out still.
And I'm sure we'll see it again because they do so much Western.
Yeah.
You know, and harmonica, that's such a Western sound instrument. Like, we're used to hearing that. So, but I agree. Can of worms for the future.
Can't you put a pickup on any reeded instrument?
Imagine
saxophones.
I do want to do a quick shout out. Oh yeah, I do want to do a quick shout out to Lindsay Schuler. Woo-hoo! She's the one who wrote the drill for the Troopers.
That's right.
Again, as far as I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, she is the only female drill writer who made World Class Finals.
Yup. And we had her on the show. Anybody who's listening who has not listened to that episode, go back and listen to it, because Lindsay is not just an amazing drill writer, but an amazing human being. And I marched with her, and being able to like talk to her, and just, she's so down to earth and she's so wonderful. Absolutely love her. Let's go on to the Colts, Where the Heart Is.
I loved this show. It really was just a really special show for me this summer, and I don't know why. The first time I watched it on Flow, like back in like the beginning of July, I got emotional, and then every time I saw it this week, I got emotional again. I have no connection to the Colts, personally, and I found myself just rooting really, really hard for them this year. And I think they've always done shows that are a little younger, for lack of a better word. I don't feel like they ever do shows that are really like you have to intellectually reach to understand them. They do stuff that's accessible, stuff that like grandma sitting up in the corner of the stands is gonna understand, and that is just something that's always been successful for them. So I know this year they are a younger core. Their average age was 16 on the field, 16 and a half.
Wow.
Yes. So, they were a lot of young kids that were getting to do this for the very first time this summer, which I think also kind of played into why I loved the show so much. But just to use like their stops along tour, and some of the iconic shows, like for me, especially the Sevier County show that they featured on one of their props. It's the oldest running show in DCI history. I don't know if you guys know that. And it's right down the road for me. It was my home show when I was marching. So getting to see that on there was cool.
I think they had Allentown
and just
too there, yeah.
Fun and cute. Yeah, Allentown was on there and San Antonio, but they approached the activity in such a fun and sweet way. this
You know,
year that totally tugged at
you're
my
right. For
heartstrings, and I'm just super proud
yeah,
of
like
them.
the last 10 years, they've done these. They're a little bit bizarre, but very understandable shows. Like they did some weird Wizard of Oz thing a few years back that I thought was really cool. I think it was the Scarecrow was in love with the. Nicole's got something to say, I think.
Oh, well, no, it's just I used to be on staff at Colts 19, 18, and 17. And to see where they come from and where they are now, and the fact that those performers are young makes all kinds of sense because they have Colt cadets. And that drum corps always has a small, you know what I mean? They always move up. That's what the Colt cadets want to do. They want to become a Colt. And I love the fact that they finally found the formula that works for them within that drum corps. And I mean, it's been a long time coming. And even though I'm not there with them anymore, I still root for them because I have Vicki McFarlane, the director. I absolutely love her. She was a mentor to me for years, and I just really, I really have a lot of respect for her and for that drum corps.
Well, I think as far as having an identity, like we mentioned, Troopers, they have that strong identity. I think Colts really have that identity as well in the type of shows they do, and this year was no different for them at all. And
I always
just
call them like the core next door
yeah,
type.
totally.
You know, it's like because just like you said, Grandma's gonna get it. Grandma does get it, you
Yeah.
know, and she's gonna get it. And she'll bring cookies next time when they perform too.
Yeah.
And I thought just everything was just so, you know, it just made you do that, and
Yeah.
it's good for them, and I think that's their identity, and that's how they do things. However, I never thought I would hear Motley Crue on the DCI field.
I loved it. It was great.
Hey,
Home sweet.
but I know we probably want to move on to Cavaliers too, but real quick, worth mentioning, Colts also celebrated their highest score of all time this summer.
Oh, yeah,
in
like
court
in
history,
90,
and I
right?
think
That
that's
was
worth
great
mentioning
for
for
them.
them. Yeah.
And their drum line helped
Yeah,
them
big
with that.
congrats to
Strong
them.
drum line this year.
I was gonna say, is it also their highest placement too, or
Mm,
have they placed higher?
Not sure.
I'm not sure about
The
that one.
ponies.
I think they've placed higher
Okay.
before, like in 2014 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I
their
don't.
highest placement was like one spot above this year.
Yeah,
Well,
and I think so. I do. I know we're going to move on. I just want to say that because of, I mean, their percussion is so good because their percussion staff is from Music City Mystique.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to those guys.
oh.
So that's why that's the way that it
Well,
is.
let's move one placement up. Let's go to the Cavaliers. Their show, Where You'll Find Me.
And what place is this?
8th?
8th place.
Eighth.
So,
Eighth.
all right. Only one other time has this ever happened in the history of DCI. Has an 8th place drum corps won high drums. The 1982 Bridgman's drumline won high drums in 8th place. Cavaliers, I said it back when we started this. Watch out for this drum
You
line.
did. I
They are
remember
going to
this.
tear the roof down. And boom, they did. Great show for those guys.
When watching them too, like just watching the show, the percussion is the show. Like you really have to look like that's what
Yeah.
you see most of the time.
Yeah.
And not to mention, like, they brought it back old school. Like, I think they brought it back old school, like very tasteful, like how things were.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was very nice to watch. And
I would really love to see a video of the show with like commentary from the design team, kind of pointing out those Easter eggs. Because I think Cavaliers, they have such a long history, but I notice particularly in students I'm involved with now, they don't know that history.
Right.
Students now, they weren't alive for frameworks, and I think it would be really cool for them to use their social media to connect with the younger fans and say like, this is a callback to this show, or this right here is from this year, or whatever, and kind of give us a
Anybody
breakdown.
on the Cavies social media team who's listening, get on this. Let's go.
Yeah. I would watch it.
Yeah. I thought that with the color guard too, I thought the color guard even had a sense of like very cavalier style, even when unzipping the jacket and unveiling like the ombre white. Like I feel like that had been done like before in the past for Cavaliers, and it just looked very stylistically Cavaliers from the way that they from the way they revealed that, from the way that they spun a lot of that. uh, I thought that everything was very much on a brand. They were on brand. That's what I wanted.
Okay, let's get back out into the field. We have got to review the opener since we haven't touched that in a few days. We will be back as we continue to make our way to the #1 drum corps at DCI this year. It is 2023. See you in a second.
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
Okay, let's get to the middle of the pack groups. Let's start with Lex's team, the Phantom Regiment. They did their show Exogenesis.
I was so happy after intermission. I feel like from 7 and up, they just showed up. They just showed up, and that guard, and I'm not to talk bad about any other guard, but that guard, when I start to see them submit, I was like, all right, that's a final DCI color guard on a field right now. So shout out to all the staff that were there this summer. I know it was a big collaborative effort, but it was really interesting. And I love the tarp in the back too. It was just visually very different from everything that we saw from 12th to 8. So yeah, I'm super glad for Regiment and just the new feel and look that they have, but still very Regiment at the same time.
Yeah, with those tarps, can we talk about how cool it was when the horn line went to the back of the field running down that? I mean, at the theater, there were literal, like, auditory wows and gasps seeing that.
Yep. I always tie everything back to a Disney movie for some odd reason. And Raya, the Last Dragon, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before, but there's a map. And it has all of the lakes that are in Kumandra, which is the name of the land. And that is what it reminded me of, was all the different lakes that were in Kumandra. And it's just like, oh, okay, Phantom. And that's awesome. I mean, I feel like they used every part of the field, and they did use every part of whatever prop they had, especially that floor, the tarp.
Yeah, that was
even the big props that they put on the side, and that the soloist would go on top of it, they were just very inventive and very classic at the same time. It was just a very entertaining show, and musically it came just different from everything that we've heard prior to them. So yeah, I was very, very impressed.
Oh, I will tell you, that trombone, it was just, I use dirty in the most respectful and musical way, but that trombone soloist was just so dirty and raunchy, and I loved it so much. Oh my gosh, yes. I wanted more. I'm like, don't stop playing.
Yeah, that was a real strong horn line for Phantom Regiment this year. Very reminiscent of the
How about the
later
the
days.
Mandarins with their show Cinnamon?
You know, that was a great show this year. It's so cool watching the Mandarins go from, what was it, 2018, their first time in finals, to now they're moving on up. They're going from just barely into finals to cleanly making finals and even beating Phantom Regiment, a recurring finalist here at DCI.
Just the evolution of the organization over the past like decade has just been so exciting and just thrilling to watch. But what I love about the Mandarins is the same thing I love about the Colts. It is audience pleasing artistry, and they're not trying too hard to be intellectual or what. It's accessible artistry that like everyone can get behind, and like people walked out of the stadium after watching Mandarins performed singing their show because so many songs that like we all knew and are like top 40 radio hits in drumcore. The arranging really is what got me. I felt like they had some of the best arranging all summer long, and it thrilled me seeing that show every single time. It just thrilled me.
Absolutely. I mean, that ballad, like, that's going to be a moment that's shared over and over for years to come. Just listening to Take Me to Church, them play it every time. So good.
Yep. I felt like there was a lot of, I mean, even this is just going to be the smallest part of their show, but like the hats, the silhouette that made across the horn line, and even the drum major, it was kind of a bending, a gender bend a little bit at the very beginning, because it's just like, like everyone's in it and you can't tell who it is, and then you're like, oh, okay. But I honestly, I loved everything honestly about that, and not the fact like what I don't remember what those things were that they were in, but it did remind me of like rotisserie.
I said that sure. I wanted rotisserie chicken every time I saw that show.
Yes.
They kept calling them toasters, and that's all.
They called them fences. I think the official core called them their fences. But I saw a post someone yesterday during finals on Facebook posted like the Mandarin show is literally just waiting for them to spin the guy in the prop at this point.
Oh yeah, I saw that. There is no way you would ever be able to put me in one of those.
Oh, I was like, are they going to throw up? I felt so bad for the kids at the end, because I was just like, you have got it. And then they show the face and the kids are like, yeah.
I just want to know how they picked them. Is it like the ones that got cut from the line, or is it the ones that were just the ones that were not going to puke? Like
they said during the theater part, in theaters, obviously, that there was like a height requirement because they had to be able to hold on to all four of the things, and that all the kids really wanted to do it.
No, can you please?
Everyone's in a prop. There's like 100 props on the field. Everyone gets their own.
And I don't know like where all they showed this, but like the host Steve Rondinero, he went in the prop and spun around. They did a clip of him doing that. I want to say at Allentown. They showed it on the Jumbotron this weekend.
Need to find it.
That's something crazy. Like as you get older, biology teacher coming in here, and like your inner ear like develops, and it gets harder and harder to do that. So like those kids are running around and jumping in those and spinning around, and they're able to like walk afterwards. But I feel like if I were to get into one of those, there's no way. Like maybe when I was their age I could have, but not anymore.
Makes me think of really dangerous rides at the fair.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about the cadets. Atlas Rising.
I love the style, and I know it was at some point an issue about why are they wearing what they're wearing. For me, it makes sense from the get-go. I don't know why. I'm not gonna get into I'm not gonna judge the people that were judging negatively those uniforms, but like it just made sense. And that flag line, like I don't think there's one other flag line that I watched more than them. They were tits. They were clean, like period. That's all. Like, I don't think I watched the rifle line. Sorry, guys. I'm pretty sure you were good too. But that flag line was amazing. Really, like, it really, really took for me the show. And it's just so fun to see the cadets have healthy like this, like
Mhm.
in a very like clear state of where they're at, what they're doing, and how they're doing it well. Like, and coming back on retreat in their uniforms, so my papa is happy and all the like they're just classy, and I love their production, and I'm so glad for them. And yet again, their legacy is so important to me. And yeah, but that flag line, and I don't know who it is, but that flag tech needs a medal. Everyone needs to know her name.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that I think techs are the stars that no one called out, because everyone
It's true.
knows the designers and all that. That flag tech needs to be recognized with some sort of trophy. Like congrats. So if anyone knows that person, I bow down. I bow down to that tech.
But we all know how the world of drum corps works, so hopefully they just come back.
Is
Mhm.
it April?
I don't think April Gilligan's been involved with the cadets for a while now.
Okay.
I don't think she's been doing anything.
I thought she kind of moved on and was doing the family thing and kind of focusing, but I don't know. Maybe she has kind of helped bring the color guard back to where they are, because it definitely the older style cadets were evident in this year's show. And I agree, Cynthia, you saying like to see them in like a healthy, solid
Yes.
place. I think that's worth mentioning, because that corps has had so much turmoil.
Mhm.
But for me, man, they were like the single most athletic horn line of the year for me.
You're right.
They were doing things that no other horn line was doing in terms of visual components, from like inversions and the way they were moving on the ground, the way they were moving with each other. It's just not something you see color guards do it all the time, but
Mhm.
horn lines do not. And I think cadets this summer may have like set a new precedent for what horn lines are expected of or are capable of moving forward.
Well,
I
our
do-
producer just said that April Gilligan is listed on staff. So it is evident. We can see it. Like, she's back. And this is awesome.
but they brought back, like last year, then they bring back I don't know how to say this in a very nice manner, but the people that were there before, like Denise Benfiglio is kind of on direction anymore, but she was still around. And yeah, in April, and those women are just what built us as color guard staff, aren't they? So good for them.
I do think that from what Alicia was saying about like the horn line and how they're doing and they're running while they're doing it, like that does remind me again of like kind of old school cadets, like Red Pony year, and when they were running around and everything like that. And honestly too, it does tie into what Cynthia was saying, like they look healthy. Atlas Rising is about like how much you can take and keep going. Maybe this is, you know what I mean, like Atlas is the cadets and they are rising, so this is their journey to get back to a healthy spot.
Yeah,
I think too, weren't they working with Marching Health? We're talking about how the horn line is just running and running and running. Like these kids are in the prime shape. They were seriously focused on physical fitness and not just like, okay, let's get in good enough shape to get the show out there. They were actually like, okay, let's turn these kids into athletes. I love that. I love it so much. Let's talk Boston Crusaders. White Whale going on this ship.
White Whale won.
Oh my gosh, this was
that ending
all the summer.
Their color guard is so amazing. I like barely even watch the horn line. Like all night, only watch the color guard. Heather Graham is just God, chef's kiss. She's amazing, and what she teaches those kids. Well, how she teaches those kids to do two turns.
Oh my gosh,
that is great, because I see other people do turns. I'm like, okay, but the technique is like not quite there, but they nail it every single time.
They are really a master class in partnering and trusting their teammates too. And I think they're not necessarily getting the credit for it that I wish they were getting. But even last year, they had this, amazing trio moment like feature, and they did that again this year. Again, they had this really awesome trio moment, but kind of a motif out throughout the entire show in the color guard were partnered tosses that were caught by two different people. Like if it was
Oh,
just a
yeah.
flat kid, you had a kid on each side. And just the level of trust and timing and commitment that those performers had to have in each other to be able to achieve that stuff, I think is just a testament to what is happening there culturally, and how far that core is going to come in the next few years. Because they have that trust in each other and that team environment, and I'm just impressed with it every time I watch that color guard, because that color has synergy.
There was one part in the show that I just loved, and I waited for it every time, is when there was a blonde girl, I think she was blonde, on rifle, and she was juggling her rifles and then tossed it back behind her for the other guy to catch it, and then she does like a walk over through the horn, like through the through the horn line that was there. I was like, oh. I just loved it. I thought
loved her.
I have some sort of opinion that people may not like, and I look up to all of that staff. We're talking about Heather Grams because we don't know how she does it and how she teaches so many kids to be able to do things that she was doing when she was marching, right? She's one of the ones that brought all those twirls tricks.
Oh yeah, she started out in the baton world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I knew there was like a big, like, oh my God, they're not going to get Zingali, and they've been having it. And we all kind of know that they're doing the hardest technically stuff out there. Although Bluecoats and Blue Devils this year have done hard stuff that I have seen them do. But they were not executing the same way that usually Boston do. There were more drops at least at finals, that Boston usually has. And I figure that kind of worked in their disfavor because difficulty is not on the sheet as highly rewarded as it probably should. And then when they have drops on top of it, so I all agree with what you're saying, but there were more drops than they usually have. On the flip side, the musicality of that color guard as a whole on the core is just something you don't see with any other. It looked like the music was written for the color guard and not the other way around.
With that. I totally agree with that. I think musicality, they take the cake for me as well. And I mean, I would love to see like color guard judging in DCI move more towards appreciating the the challenge, like how we judge WGI. I would like to see that line up a little bit more, because I think the color guard caption would have looked very different this summer.
Yeah, especially it's world class. Like, push the envelope with this. It's don't just do the same thing over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like Boston does that better than anyone else with their color guard.
And how many rifles did they have to do the two turns? Because that no one dropped. It was like more than 40 kids that did the rifle toss with two turns.
I know, it's like a requirement to be in the color guard. It's like, can you do a two turn with the 7? No? Okay, sorry.
It's like, as if, just come back, work on it, and come back to me.
It's so weird that that's like a standard scale now. Like, if everywhere that you see, that's not a solo moment anymore. That's an ensemble moment.
Right. I thought about mentioning this with Blue Stars, but the front walkover is also kind of a standard now.
Yes.
We saw, I mean, that happened in 8 different shows in finals, for what it's worth. 8 different, and not a solo moment. It was moments where, a line did it. So, that's...
I don't know if I could march now.
I definitely could not march now.
We're going to be doing like 4 spins and double illusions and gosh.
But for the whole, in a whole for White Whale, like this is one of the shows I didn't get to see prelim semis finals. I only saw semis finals. And I loved how they did change it up so that the whale won You know, I'm, you know, everyone wants a happy ending, and I get that, but at the same time, it's just like, well, let's not be. We already know how it's going to end, and I will tell you, from prelims, no, excuse me, from semis to finals, I feel like it was a completely. They had a different kind of hunger in them for finals. And like it wasn't even just from the horn line or from the pit, because I saw it in the pit, but even from like the drum major, like that whole drum corps dialed it in together and just gave it to you. So I really, really, really enjoyed their finals performance.
I appreciated that the ambiguity of the ending of the novel was played with too, and how they let the will win some nights and not other nights. I think that was really true to the work that they were featuring. So, love that.
Yeah, I think Boston did a great job of playing to their strengths too, using some familiar pieces. You know, shipping back to Boston and all that, where that really drew the crowd in. The percussion program. You know, year after year since Colin McNutt has been there, it's just phenomenal. And you know, people were a little upset last night about the recaps.
Really?
Where did they come in?
I think they ended up 5th in drums.
Yeah, that's right.
We were talking mere tenths between 1st and 6th place in drums. It's not like anybody got slaughtered. You know, a very tough year to pick who's the best at anything.
I mean, but that's the way you'd want it to be. I know that's like, oh man, but at the same time, it's just like, dang.
For
y'all
sure.
Close.
Okay, we've got one more rehearsal chunk left, so let's touch the ballad a bit and set up at the triangle solo. We're going to tackle the top 3 next. Be right back.
Hey there, it's Tim Hinton, the beast of the marching arts. I'm the host of the Marching Roundtable podcast, and coming this next Monday is our DCI 2023 wrap-up. This is usually one of our most popular podcasts of the year, as we talk about shows we loved and memorable moments that made this such a great year for drum corps. You'll hear comments like this.
But there was so much energy in that show too. I mean, finals night sitting in the stands was, I mean, out of this world. You know, I swear they held that chord at the end longer just so they could keep spinning them and let the crowd go nuts for them. Like,
I have to give it to Crown as well. They're always really big. Like, they're not afraid to take up space with their guard, with their horn line, with their music, with all of it. And so they can fill that entire stadium really, really easily with everything that they're doing, and it's really, really impressive.
Specifically in the snare feature, which they have several of, but they have this moment where they do a really impressive stick trick, which I had only really seen online as like a one-off, one guy can do this thing and everyone's impressed. But it's called the Casey claw, and it's like a back stick. They're really just like, it looks like you're rotating your hand like crazy. You could watch the Cavaliers this summer and see them do it. But I've never seen a whole line do it before. Clean. It was amazing.
Watch for our DCI wrap-up podcast next Monday at marchingroundtable.com. And out now is a podcast called Administrators Talk Marching Band. 3 administrators talk about the importance of marching band for the school, the community, and the students. Directors, you'll find this a very helpful resource. And if you're thinking about marching drum corps next season, go right now to our free resource called Paying for Drum Corps, endorsed by Drum Corps International. It's an hour-long presentation which includes everything you need to raise the money for your drum corps tuition quickly and easily. Listen to me, now is the time to take an hour, learn how to use your time and energy most efficiently, and get your dues taken care of early. Go to payingfordrumcorps.com.
We have made it to the top 3, and I know everyone has plenty to say about these groups. So let's jump right off of it with Carolina Crown, The Round Table, Echoes of Camelot.
You know, I'm going to start this a little bit differently, but seeing them on prelims at the theater versus seeing them live in person at semis was just such a different experience. The way that horn line can project, like at semis, I was literally the back row, like I could touch the wall. The way that horn line just spoke all the way up there was just absolutely beautiful.
You know, I'm a huge even when when I first started going to drum corps, I would love to sit like right in the middle, and like honestly, I wouldn't scream it, but I would just scream to myself, blow my face off. And they did that. It's almost like the guy in that Maxim commercial, I think, when the sound is blowing him against the chair. He's like in a wind tunnel. I feel like Crown did that. Crown was that horn line.
Yeah, it was definitely not a weak start per se, but scoring wise, Boston was like ahead of both Crown and Bluecoats for a while. I mean, they flipped around a whole bunch, but most consistently it was Boston early season, and then fourth at the end.
Does anyone know analyzing the judges where it shifted or?
I think San Antonio is when Crown started really taking a stand for themselves. But Carolina Crown has won that brass award so many times now in the last 10 years. It's kind of like Blue Devils, winning 21 world championships now.
But you know what? Shout out to Matt Harloff and Caroline Crown for getting best brass. Susie Harloff is usually on with us, but she's not right now. So shout out to Susie. Good job, Harloffs. Yay.
She's celebrating.
All right, what about the Bluecoats?
Bluecoats, right? I think that show, I love the show myself. I think it's great. Musically, visually, I'm not 100% sold on it, but I love the color schemes. I love the ideas they were trying to do. And the layers of music. Wow, man. Percussively and the front ensemble. What an amazing job scoring that. What a great musical show.
I don't know if there's a lot of people that, I mean, there's a bunch of color guard people, but musically, to me, it sounded like they composed their Winter Guard show. Like little cuts, little samplings that creates a new soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
I think musically it was really, really interesting. And it was, I'm not a music person, but it sounded different than what they used to do, or the years that you can recognize like a full song as a piece. I think it was very interesting, and visually, I was in awe. I love neons, like it's my soul animal, I guess. I really love what they're doing visually. I love the uniform, the core uniform, how it moved, like the flow it had. I know, and people just hear us, so they cannot see your bitchy faces. But okay, I'm that person. I loved how it moved. I loved how I think it's you, Alicia, that talked how the drum line moved and how they do physical stuff. And I think Bluecoats did some of that too, like rolling around, like standing on their heads, like so Bluecoats, I liked it. I liked the visual, and I liked the uniform, and and I want to buy one, please. I won't fit in any, but yeah.
Cynthia, I'm with you. I liked the way they looked. And honestly, I liked the way they moved. I mean, yes, the color. I have a couple of things. One, I really liked how the horn line moved, because there were some parts where they were doing body with the color guard, and they were clean right with them. And I was in awe of that, because like there's horn line movement, but then like they're dancing. Like they are flat out showing you skills. I always have a soft spot in my heart for Bluecoats flag line and their choreography. Jim Moore. Oh, I'm just like how people scream for Taylor Swift or for Beyonce. I scream for Jim Moore. you know, like
Oh,
show me
really?
all of the Jim Moore twirls that you can, and yes, and so that's what made that's what made me extremely happy to have in that show, and not to mention everyone knows that it's a poem, right?
Yeah,
Watch
yeah. I
Red
don't
Rose.
think a lot of people realize that at first.
Yeah. It takes me back to reading Rainbow Time. Like, honestly, I was waiting for the butterfly in the sky. Like, I was like, yes, but I didn't hear it. But also, too, if they had done a little doo-doo-doo, and then I would have been like, good for you.
I do think second place was a surprise, though, for a lot of people with the blue coats.
You said you think it was a surprise?
I think so. I think people were thinking further down for blue coats.
Oh.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. A lot of people were expecting Crown to play, well, both Boston and Crown, but really Crown to take that second spot.
Yeah.
What was that spread?
Mere tenths, if that.
Yeah.
Hundreds.
And I think this is where we get caught up in shows that are accessible for an audience. And that's why audience expected Boston or Crown to place higher, because their shows were accessible and understandable. And the people that don't get what the judges are having to do, or they don't understand the nuance or the technicality of what they're looking for, you expect those shows that we just get to place higher. So I think people were frustrated because blue coats were more intellectual, and the average person sitting in the audience doesn't understand.
Well, and
what
think about like marching band shows, like high school marching band shows and stuff. If you're going to local contests and stuff like that and you want to place well, you're going to be seeing judges who maybe are young judges, maybe they don't have a lot of experience all the time, and they're going to be more inclined to also feel like those, you know what I mean, like also feel like those more accessible shows make more sense, and they might score a little higher. And maybe that's kind of something, you know, we really have to understand that like DCI is a whole other level than anything else we've got going on in this activity. Like they are, you know, it's big brain stuff up there.
Masters of the music games, right?
Yes.
Real quick, back on the score difference, 0.075. We were so close to another tie. Like last year we had a tie for second. This year, a fraction of a point away from a tie again.
The color guards were practically tied. Like blue coats and Carolina Crown, but color guards were so close. It was like it was less than a tenth of a point there too.
Well, that's
and GE was 0.025. Like every caption was so close.
So close.
That's such a
and
tough
what
job.
a proficient finals this year. I mean, I was just talking about this with someone earlier today. Just the top 12, it was such a strong year across the board. So of course the scores are the way they are, because I would not want to be a judge. How do you look at what they're doing at such a high level and differentiate?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and hit number one. The cutouts with the Blue Devils.
Where do you even begin? I have to say, they humbled me this summer, and I grew as an educator this summer because of Blue Devil's show. I had to kind of admit, my best friend is a 4-year Blue Devil vet, and I had to kind of admit to him this summer, like, oh my gosh, I'm such a fan. And I've not wanted to admit that out loud, I think, for like 4 years. But this summer, it just really hit me. And, you know, I think that if everyone could do it, everyone would be a champion. And I think Blue Devils are right now in a class of their own, in that they are taking concepts that are so simple and building shows around them that are so nuanced and so elegant in that simplicity, and really designing every single thing they're doing from top to bottom. And it just really blew me away this year, to watch them and see that simplicity, but also see all that nuance and the control they had, and the little things they added all summer long that really grew that show. And for me, I'm a multicam lover. I watch everything on multicam. And I found myself this summer wanting to watch them on the full cam because I feel like in the normal world, the further we move a microscope away from the subject, we tend to see less detail. And Blue Devils are giving us the opposite of that. When you back away and you watch that show as a whole, that production as a whole, you're really actually able to appreciate it a little bit more. And I just think they are in a class of their own, and they are boundary pushing, and they are changing the activity with every performance. And I'm done. I watched them and it's over, and I'm like, I need a cigarette and a drink.
Yeah, it was a great show. I mean, visually, like you're saying, you watch Blue Devils, normally you want to watch all the detail stuff, but visually, the whole, they marched more this year than I think they have in past years. And the drill is just designed like cutouts. It's so brilliant how there's all these little squares always coming together and falling apart. And yeah, it was really cool to watch the visual program.
Yeah. Someone told me that the uniforms were like cutouts of prior costumes that they'd done as far as design.
Yeah,
And it
that's what I've
blew
heard too.
oh my gosh. And it's just so great. Such a fun design choice.
Yeah, no details are left hanging. Never.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's how that trickles down from first to the bottom.
I did.
Attention to details.
The one thing that kind of threw me for a loop, though, was hearing them play both sides now. Because it's just not something I would hear from the Blue Devils, They
Right.
played it perfectly, but I was just like, is this both sides now? Actually, okay, I'll tell you how this went down. I got really tired by the end of semis and couldn't watch the rest. So I went into my room, but my roommate and his friends were still watching the rest of it. And I could hear like the music playing, and I was like, is that both sides now? So I texted him. I was like, is this both sides now? And you could hear them giggle in the other room. And I was like, who are you watching? They were like, Blue Devils. I was like, what? They're playing? Okay. So that was honestly one of the things I wanted to see was how they did this, how they portrayed both sides now on the field, because I'm at the age where I've seen it on a field, I've seen it on the floor for winter, and they did a really good job with it. That's all I can say. Like, honestly, I think it's hard to mess that song up.
Yeah. And does anyone know why they chose that with the cut? That was my thing, like both sides now. And the voiceover that they use in French was, if I'm not mistaken, Charles de Gaulle talking about the machinery in the war. And is it just a using music? You know what I mean? Like, is there,
did it have to do with the artist?
I thought it was him speaking, but I don't know.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
Really? Okay, then maybe I'm wrong then.
I think I literally talked to someone, Cynthia, last night about the same thing, because I thought the voiceover was Matisse, and someone else told me that it was Charles de Gaulle in like a lifetime achievement speech he gave about him. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure the particular choices as to the why, but
all right, Blue Devils, we need the details.
Yeah, we need the details.
Well,
but
and
then again,
they did put out like a podcast or interview thing on their social media that you can check out. That kind of breaks down the show itself, and they talked about the major pieces of art from Matisse that they drew from, and why they did certain elements. And I've not finished watching all of it, but it is out there and it exists, and I think some of those answers are probably there.
Yeah, I should listen to this, because on the other hand, I'm not saying that if there's no reasoning or intellectual reasoning, it's bad, because I do think it's interesting if they just picked up Charles de Gaulle for his voice, the words, the rhymes. That's how most people heard the voiceover, right? Because they don't understand French
yeah, sure.
And often we use, I don't want to say too much, but lyrical, when you use a song and you just focus on the words and you don't necessarily focus on the musicality of like a voice as an instrument, that's to a detriment to, you should write to voice as an instrument also to the words that they're saying. So if it was just used for that purpose, that makes sense too. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Rhythmically, yeah.
I do want to point out that the Click family was huge in this DCI. So let's see, Piper Click, she was in the color guard at Blue Devils, and they got the Zengali. Avery Click is in percussion and got the high percussion award and at Cavaliers. And Don Click is the program coordinator for the Colts. And we all know Stephanie. She's near and dear to our heart and has been on the show before. So talk about a good DCI for that family.
For sure. Oh my gosh.
Right.
All I think about is the cost.
And she's driving her daughter.
I was gonna say, Stephanie was supposed to be here today, but she has to drive her daughter to college directly after DCI finals.
Wow.
So,
Woo, it doesn't stop.
All right, so we've gushed about everybody else. What did we miss, or what do you want to go off about on our gush and goes for the DCI 2023 season? Let's get to our favorite part of our show right here, gush and go. Ashlee, let's start with you.
I think my favorite part was the little trio part in Boston Crusaders when they were spinning the rifle and the saber at the same time, tossing it over people. I don't think I'll ever get over their color guard. The things that they do are just literally insane. And I know there's other color guards that do that, but
sorry, anybody who hasn't seen that, it's on their social media too. So like there's little clips of it, and there's clips of them rehearsing it, and then like side by sides of them rehearsing and them in performance. Oh, it's amazing. Actually, I absolutely agree with you. That's fantastic. Cynthia.
I think I want to gush and go at the retreat. The announcer, I was looking for the word. The announcer said at a point just to give recognition to all the staff and everyone that has worked around those members. And we said at a couple of times how those shows, that top 12 was one of the greatest top 12 that we've seen. And the focus is on the kids, and that's what should be deserved. But I would have been standing up my feet and yelling like screaming for those staff, those people, the technical staff, the design staff, obviously, but I said it again, the tech staff, all the ones being on the field and living the hot summer with the kids they need to be recognized in any shows, any sections. So yeah, my gush and go is like, you guys are lucky technicians to do that. I feel it's the best job there is, to be on the field with those kids and letting them know that they can push a little bit harder, and they are deserving of applause and rewards and all of that, because those shows were really, really good technically for, I think, all the top 12. So yeah.
100.
I love that. Nicole?
I guess because we saw a lot of pictures and things like that, I just want to do a huge shout out to the judges, and in particular Mark Hoskins. He was the first, well, not the first, but since it's been about 40 years since there has been a judge of color, a black man that is judging DCI finals. And he was judging DCI finals, and he's been with DCI for years. However, this is the first finals, and it was great to see him there. There were some females as well. I want to say 4, if I'm right, throughout the whole prelims, semis, and finals. It's just something to take a look at, how the diversity is actually happening, because we are seeing a lot more diversity within the drum corps. It's so evident, and you see it. It's very right in front of your face.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of times we age out at 21, and a lot of them want to. A lot of performers want to stay inside the activity. It's really hard to want to keep going in something that you don't see yourself in. And if those performers don't see themselves on the other side of the field, then it's going to be harder for them to reach for those kind of things. So I would say, yes, I'm proud that Mark was out there and giving that that representation. We need more. We need so much more.
Absolutely.
Nicole, can you educate me? How many judges is there on every panel of prelims, semis, and finals?
I could be wrong, and I am going to go ahead and say that. I think it's doubled for each.
I got your back here, Nicole. There's 12 each night for a total of 36.
Okay. Yeah. So I was kind of right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's only one out of the 36. That was I don't get it.
1 out of 36. DCI.
Do better.
Do better.
Come on. Tom, what do you want to gush about?
Right? Well, let's just gush about the bar that's been set performance-wise. From first down to last place, and I don't want to bag on last place, but even all the way down there, what I saw this year is night and day compared to 2022. 2023 set the bar on the ability and what can be done in the period of time that we have. So it's going to be pretty nuts moving forward, I think. But that's my gush and go. Everyone was just freaking amazing this year. Ribbons for everybody. Woo!
Alicia, what about you?
Oh man, I think I need to gush really just about how many female drum majors there were in finals this year, and really across all DCI. Female drum majors and brass soloists. It was really a significant number. I love to see all the women in drum corps representing. And there's actually I'm not affiliated with them, but there's a great Facebook group that is just called Women of Drum Corps, which is great to get plugged into if you're wanting to get into the activity. But it just is refreshing to see so many strong female leaders on the field. And I had students this year that favored Phantom because of Phantom's drum major. So definitely pulling kids into the activity, getting to see that representation, and it was awesome.
Oh, Phantom's drum major got the drum major award.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Jeremy, what do you want to gush about?
Yeah, this is going to kind of sound like a cop-out, but I want to say and just talk about how great the community as a whole is. I mean, I was at finals, and just before the show started, my wallet fell out of my pocket. And I'm thinking, well, this is an NFL stadium. It's as good as gone. At the end of the day, it was at Lost and Found. Someone had found it and turned it in. Everything's still in it. Nothing touched.
That's amazing.
That is.
Yeah, I feel like if that was a football game, it might have been a different story. But DCI is from the performers to the staff to the fans sitting in the stands. There's so many great people in this organization and in this activity.
And you know what, Jeremy? You're right. That happened in Allentown. Somebody lost a phone and a credit card. Most people,
I think there's something to be said for the type of people that drum corps produces, and then the fact that we take what we've learned and then take that out into the world. And I guess that can be my gush for today. But there's so many great fans, and I think DCI is an educational experience like none other. So
yeah. And for all those kids that are going home, tomorrow, I think it's going to hit a lot of people tomorrow, how quiet their shower will be, how quiet their, waking up and, stuff is going to be. Be kind to yourself and give yourself some time. Like that whole after tour blues is for real. I mean, I know I went through it, and I keep hearing about people going through it, but your memories are your own, and you have so many. And with this day and age of like snapping pictures on your phones, you have pretty much your whole season already on social media, so you can go back and look at it anytime you want. But, you know, you did this. You did that. Be very happy that you did that. Don't, oh, I'm going to be like Dr. Seuss. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because you did it.
Right. It's one of my favorite sayings. Don't be sad it's over. Be happy that it happened.
Yeah.
And it happens to all of us. Like even you know, when I went back and I was teaching and I would be like gone, I'd be on tour for 2 weeks and I'd have to come home. It still happens. Like it's just a part of it. Take that decompression time. I love that. So, well, you guys know that I love to get to know all of our hosts and let our audience get to know you as individuals. So I need to know something about you. What part of the DCI 2023 championship are you? Let's keep the same order. Ashlee, let's start with you.
I think I was probably the girl in the Colts that had that. She ran across the front sideline. They're about to finish the show. She falls over. She with her sign. She gets back up. She runs to her spot, and she's like, "What fall? Don't know what you're talking about."
Girl recovery for days.
That was so good. I was like, oh, she fell. Oh, she's back up.
You blinked and she's standing back up.
Cynthia, what about you?
What I wish I was, or what I
Either way, both sides.
I think I wish, and I think I am that trombone soloist at Blue Coats. At the end, there was that trombone soloist and that trumpet player screamer. And the trombone soloist was screaming at the screamer because just to pump up that, I don't know, just being supportive for, you see it on the multicam, he's just cheering his friend, but to a point that he didn't care. I'm pretty sure he could have been picked up by the mic on the bell of the trumpet. But I think I'm that person that when you're on the field at finals, you have control as a performer to do whatever you want, even if your staff is mad. It's the last show. And I'm pretty sure at the Blue Coast they're allowed to do those things because that's just how their vibe is. So I'm pretty sure I would have been that person, just being like, you are amazing and I'm by your side. Like, yeah.
Nicole, what about you?
I'm probably okay. So there was this point in the Mandarin show where there's a soloist guy and he's standing up. I think there was a soloist playing, but he's like just giving like the yar face and everything, like almost looks a little feral. Maybe I'm on that part of it because you know what I'm saying? Like anytime you're out on the field and you don't. Nothing is a given, so you don't know whether or not prelims is going to be your last one or semis is going to be your last one. So like literally every show, this is what this dude was doing and I was living for it too. I'm like, oh, how do you practice that? I'm sure they were like, well, just think about being feral, maybe, but I bought it and I loved it. And I was just like, yes, okay, you win. You've won for me.
Thom, what about you?
I'm going to have to say I'm the tunnel. That feeling you get going out onto the field when you look up at the audience for the first time is so much different than when you're running back through that tunnel for the last time. Yeah.
Agreed.
I think that's one of the greatest things about drum corps. You always have a tunnel, no matter where you are.
That yes, that pump up right before the show. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling it just thinking about it right now. Alicia.
You guys are all so sweet with your answers, and so it's the end. We love the activity. What? Oh my gosh, mine is not sweet. This whole time, I've been sitting here thinking, because actually I was going to say what Ashlee said, that I was the girl that fell, but I think what part of finals I was either the harpoon that did not kill the well, or I was the black eyeliner that every horn line seemed to love this year. Did you know the thick black eyeliner that everyone was wearing?
Was there like a sponsorship involved there or something? Did somebody call up Maybelline and be like, "Hey, so
maybe it's Maybelline"? No, one of those for sure.
Jeremy, what about you?
You know, not to call it back to the Mandarins, but their costume change where they start out with oh, this is the hoity-toity version society wants me to be, and then there's the red, like the real version of you, and we all need to find that real version of us and stop pretending to be the fake persona that the world wants us to be.
Well, that got real, Jeremy.
Jeremy just told us he's a sinner, y'all.
Take me to church.
It's no rest for the wicked.
Oh, can I just say what part I would like to be? I don't know what part I am right now, but what part I would like to be is I would like to be Brant Crocker. Could I be Brant Crocker? Is that allowed?
Wow.
I met him once. I don't know. I may have talked about it before, but I met him once and at a show, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're just like my idol," and all this, and he was just like, "Really?" I was like, "Yes." So and I was like, "Can I take a picture with you?" And he's like, "Why?" But I keep this picture and I love it so much. So I would love to be able to be the person who's just like telling everyone what's going on the field as everybody's coming in. So that's my dream job, I guess, of DCI. All right, everybody. Thanks for a great rehearsal this week. Thanks to our hosts for recording this less than 24 hours after DCI finals happened. Guys, this is awesome. I love how we pulled together so fast and did this. Ashlee, Cynthia, Nicole, Thom, Jeremy, and of course the lovely Alicia. Go subscribe, write us a review, share this with a friend, follow us on all of our social media. It's at On a Water Break. Make sure to leave us some reviews because I want to read those reviews. Keep them coming. And we will see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.